We've pushed to get this birthday book and note, which I should remind everyone, Donald Trump has said does not exist. He says that, no, this birthday note that we know is in the hands of the Epstein estate, that does exist. We should be getting confirmation tomorrow.
Señores, Donald Trump ya no puede esconderse de su escándalo con Jeffrey Epstein. Por más que intente taparlo, maquillarlo, distraernos, este encubrimiento ya no se sostiene. Y lo que lo hace peor es que no solo somos nosotros los que seguimos hablando del tema, no solo son los republicanos o los demócratas. Hoy su ex aliado Elon Musk acaba de lanzar un mensaje bastante ominoso, justo cuando tenemos un nuevo bombazo sobre Epstein que sacude a Trump. Vamos a desmenuzarlo todo, amigos, pero antes quiero que arranquemos con lo que dijo la demócrata Yasmin Crockett, dejándonos las cosas claras. Escuchemos.
What do you say to lawmakers who heard their stories and they still refuse to support a full investigation into the Epstein case?
I think they all deserve to lose their seats. I mean, at the end of the day, we swear an oath to the Constitution and we swear to serve and to protect Americans. And right now, as you just had a conversation about this administration that is not attacking enemies, but has decided that it wanted to be an enemy towards its own American people, this is yet another attack on us. And what type of precedent is it setting? And what is it telling those that are suffering right now as victims as it relates to our elected officials? It says that so long as you have enough money and or power, then you will be protected and not the most vulnerable amongst us. We are talking about people that were children. You played a clip of Miss Farmer who talked about her as well as her sister that were abused in the 90s, and they reported this, and unfortunately nothing happened to the extent that we had survivors that were giving us testimony as late as 2008 when he was absolutely supposed to be incarcerated in Florida, yet he was still somehow managing to abuse women. We have to stand up. I don't know who's in these files. I don't know if they're Democrats, Republicans, or independents. I don't know if they're donors to any specific campaigns. I have no idea. And honestly, it just doesn't matter. What matters is about doing better for not only these women, but for future generations. So I really don't have any expectations as it relates to a timeline. I will say anything that can slow this thing down, if it's under Comer's watch, is what we're going to see, is anything that drags it along. And frankly, the person that is directing what happens and what doesn't happen, obviously, is the President of the United States. So this comes down to what it is that he's okay with coming out and when. And frankly, it doesn't seem like he's okay with any of it coming out, which basically furthers suspicion from both sides that he is a lot more involved than anything that he's ever said that he was.
Usar el dolor de las víctimas como una ficha política y luego hacerse el ciego es una abominación. Y aquí es donde vemos nombres muy fuertes: Thomas Macy, Marjorie Taylor Greene, hasta Elon Musk. Antes de lanzar su misterioso tweet, Musk hizo algo bastante inusual. Criticó a la administración de Trump. Les recordó, con toda la ironía del mundo, que las baterías existen. El Departamento de Energía de Trump había atacado las energías renovables, culpándolas de los altos precios. Bueno, pues Elon respondió con un hola, recordando que Tesla produce sistemas de almacenamiento como el Megapack, el cual ya está estabilizando redes eléctricas en Australia. Prácticamente una bofeteada, pero al estilo elegante, ¿no? Y justo después, en medio del ruido de Epstein, Musk publicó un mensaje muy raro: me lo agradecerán después. La respuesta más popular debajo de ese post fue una imagen de Donald Trump Jr. escribiendo: muestren toda la lista de clientes de Epstein ahora. ¿Por qué proteger a esos miserables? ¿Casualidad? No lo creo. Musk volvió a lanzar una sombra hacia Trump justamente cuando el comité de supervisión soltó otra bomba. Está presentada por Robert García. Escuchemos.
Oversight Committee Ranking Member Robert Garcia joins us now. So, Congressman, it seems like tomorrow is shaping up to be a big day, and will part of the materials that the Oversight panel receives be the birthday book? Are you going to get this tomorrow?
It's looking highly likely. We've been working, of course, with the Epstein estate. Democrats have been forcing, as you know, Republicans to take votes that they don't want to take. We got the subpoena for the Epstein files and are waiting the DOJ to release all those documents and continue to stonewall. We've pushed to get this birthday book and note, which I should remind everyone, Donald Trump has said does not exist. He says that, no, this birthday note that we know is in the hands of the Epstein estate, that does exist. We should be getting confirmation tomorrow. We should be receiving the book and all the Epstein documents from the estate tomorrow, and our intention is to make it public. Our intention is to ask the question, Mr. President, you said this note does not exist. It'll hopefully be in our possession this week, and we're ensuring that every document necessary to bring justice for these victims that we've, of course, heard this just last week, which has been, I think, very hard for the public to come to terms that the White House is covering these horrific information, these files, these crimes up. And so it's going to be a big week.
Y bueno, no fue lo único, porque también aprovechó para publicar una imagen en su plataforma X, un contador oficial de arrestos de pedófilos de Jeffrey Epstein, y la cual estaba mostrando configurada en puros ceros. ¿Qué hora es? Mira, otra vez es la hora de que nadie haya sido arrestado. Fue lo que escribió Musk en el pie de la foto. Es más, también aprovechó para decir, esta es la gota que colmó el vaso. Y lo hizo a una publicación anterior del lunes que criticaba a la administración de Trump por prometer inicialmente publicar la lista de Epstein antes de decir, según se informa, que, bueno, no existe ninguna lista de Epstein. Y es que exactamente, señores, todo esto sucede luego de que se informara sobre un memorando el domingo por la noche que revelaba que el Departamento de Justicia y el FBI habían llegado a una conclusión de que no hay evidencia de que Epstein, un delincuente sexual convicto, chantajeara a figuras poderosas o mantuviera una lista de clientes como se sugiere. Señores, prácticamente dicen que ahora no existe la lista de clientes de Epstein. Ahora bien, amigos, el famoso libro de cumpleaños, ¿no? Este que el Congreso quiere obtener, ¿no? Eso es lo que puede dinamitar no solo las mentiras de Trump sobre Epstein, sino que también mostrar la red de cómplices que esta administración ha protegido. El Departamento de Justicia de Pam Bondi incluso llegó a pedir a un juez que no revele los nombres de dos socios de Epstein que recibieron transferencias de $100,000 y de $250,000. Ya no son víctimas, son cómplices. Proteger a esos nombres significa proteger a quienes podrían hablar de Trump. Claro, esto contrasta, ¿no?, con la última mentira ridícula por parte de Mike Johnson diciendo que Trump era en realidad un informante del FBI en el caso de Epstein.
Did the president tell you this specifically about his involvement?
I was recounting what others have said. The president and I have talked about the Epstein evils many times. He's as disgusted by it as everybody else. He has long had a history of acknowledging that, and he has said repeatedly he wants everything to come out, all credible information, everything for the American public to decide.
Was he ever asked to wear a wire or anything like that?
I have no idea. No, I'm not saying that. I have no information about that whatsoever. I was repeating what has been common knowledge for a long time. The president was helpful in trying to get Epstein, for the law enforcement to go after Epstein. That's always been my understanding. That's common knowledge. It's the public's understanding. I was not breaking news there. Okay. What I'm trying to emphasize is that the president is as disgusted about this as everyone is. All people of good conscience. We heard from the victims last week. It was gut-wrenching to hear their accounts. Many of them came out here and.
Tal cual, amigos, no hay universo en el que alguien pueda creer que Trump era amigo de Epstein solo para informar a los federales. Una mentira tan torpe que hasta sus propios intentos de encubrimiento se están derrumbando. Lo más interesante, señores, es que todo esto ya se está reflejando en la desaprobación del pueblo estadounidense, en las encuestas. Escuchen.
Poll numbers are lagging on jobs, as you might imagine. Then again, they're lagging on a lot and have been for a while. CNN chief data analyst Harry Etten is here. Sir, you see something of a pattern here.
I do see something of a pattern. Sometimes we lose the forest for the trees, but I want to look at the forest, and it is one ugly duckling forest that we're looking at for Donald Trump. You know, look at this. Negative net approval rating for some. You know, we talk about one poll, the CBS News poll. We talk about another poll, the NBC News poll. Nuh-uh. Look at the aggregate polls and look how long Donald Trump's net approval rating has been negative. It has been every day since March 12th in the average of polls. We're talking about 181 days in a row in which Donald Trump has been underwater swimming with the fishes. There is no good data for Donald Trump when looking at the aggregate and looking overall. He has been negative for a very long period of time, the vast majority of his second presidency.
What about the issues?
Okay, what about the issues? You see this here, right? Is there any shining light? Is there any light at the end of the tunnel? Well, look at the issues. Look at this. These are all the key issues. Donald Trump is underwater on all of them. Trade, obviously, tariffs have been a big thing at the bottom of your list, minus 17 points. The economy, which was the reason he was elected to his second term to fix the economy, way underwater at minus 14 points. Foreign policy, minus 12. And then I think, Mr. John Berman, the key two issues at the top, because these have been Donald Trump's strongest issues, crime and immigration. But get this. He is now underwater on both of these issues, if barely, but he's underwater on crime at minus 2, immigration at minus 3. On all the key issues, he is again swimming with the fishes. Consistency across the board.
It is interesting, though, because the difference here does explain why even with these jobs numbers, which were historically bad on Friday, this is what he's focused on today. He'd rather be talking about this than this.
Absolutely.
All right, what about with key groups that may have influenced his election victory?
Okay, so, you know, we talked about right at the top that every day since March 12th, what has changed since February in terms of making Donald Trump go from the positive side of the ledger to the negative side of the ledger? And this, of course, I think is so important. Two key groups that were so important to getting Donald Trump a second term. He did so much better than the traditional Republican among those under the age of 30 and Hispanics. Look at this. In February, among those under the age of 30, his net approval rating, according to CBS News, plus 2 points. Look at where we are now. Negative 30 points. That's a 32-point move in the wrong direction. And Hispanics, he was 6 points underwater. Look at this. Minus 34 points. That's a 28-point move since February. No wonder Donald Trump's in trouble. He's steady across the board. And since February, when he was last positive, he's only gotten significantly worse among two very key groups for his election back last year.
If this sticks, it'll be interesting to see how it impacts some of these districts, especially in Texas in the midterms.
I got a feeling we'll be talking more about that down the line, John.
Harriet, and thank you very much.
Literalmente, el trumpismo está en números rojos en todos los temas. Eso significa que los demócratas van a tener que hablar de estos temas, pero claro, desde sus victorias, no desde la narrativa de él. Así que, señores, hay que seguir repitiendo el mismo tema. Trump no puede escapar del caso Epstein, ni con maquillaje, ni con micrófonos apagados, ni con mentiras de su gente. Cada nuevo dato, cada nuevo aliado que se le da a la vuelta, como es el caso de Musk, solo termina hundiendo su narrativa. Ahora bien, señores, lo que se viene esta semana en el Congreso, ¿no? Podría estar destapando uno de los secretos más oscuros que hemos visto en el caso Epstein. Es más que altamente probable que el Congreso reciba este famoso libro de cumpleaños de Jeffrey Epstein, el que supuestamente contiene una carta y hasta un dibujo de Trump dirigido al propio Epstein. Es lo que estábamos hablando en su momento. Pero aquí tenemos una pregunta que es inevitable. ¿Qué pasa si el libro aparece y se demuestra que Trump mintió descaradamente? Exactamente, señores. Hoy tenemos que hablar de lo que esto significa, de por qué la Casa Blanca está tan desesperada por taparlo, y de cómo este capítulo seguramente va a marcar un antes y un después en el caso de Jeffrey Epstein.
We're going to make the information available as soon as we can. Obviously, we want to make sure that what we get is authentic. We have to have review it. We got to make sure there are no and there's no information that somehow impacts the victims or the survivors negatively. And so all of that's got to be made and assessed very quickly. But I feel confident in our conversations with the Epstein estate that in this next day or so, we should be receiving that book. We're also going to have a team of folks in New York to check the authenticity in person. And so all of that should be happening in the next day or so, and we intend to get out in front and again ask the president the question when he is caught in another lie, saying that this note does not exist. What is he going to tell the American public then when we show the public the community, the country, and most importantly, the survivors, that this note does exist.
Well, let's actually play James Comer here, Congressman James Comer, the Republican chair of the Oversight Committee, because he kind of gives a bit of the game away. Take a listen.
You want to have a whole hearing, a whole entire hearing, not about the victims, not about a government cover-up, not about human trafficking, but about Maxwell, who you all were like begging to be deposed, and I did the subpoena. Now you want to, now you're mad because she exonerated Trump.
It feels like he's saying the quiet part out loud there, right? Because he's basically saying that this is all about trying to exonerate Donald Trump and distancing him from this ongoing scandal in pursuit of justice for these survivors and victims.
I mean, look, I think what James Comer said there is shameful. Let's be really clear. Maxwell is a sexual predator, a trafficker of women and girls. She herself sexually abused women. She's a liar. She is monstrous in her actions. And in fact, all of the survivors that we spoke with over the course of the last few weeks, whether they were in roundtables or groups or at the press conference they had, they were all clear that Maxwell never should have been moved to a prison and facility that actually allows her more freedom, more opportunity to walk and speak to folks within her family or her lawyers. It is shameful that Donald Trump's DOJ, and in fact his own personal former attorney, had this meeting with Maxwell, allowed Maxwell to go on the record and give her side of the story in public, and essentially give this monster a facility and a place to stay where she was not eligible for in that kind of move. And so we're still demanding answers as to why Donald Trump and Pam Bondi decided to move Ghislaine Maxwell, who never should have been moved out of that prison, into that facility. Now, we can assume it's because he wants Ghislaine Maxwell to somehow maybe forget what she has seen, or perhaps somehow by giving some sort of pardon to her or some sort of reduced sentence, they're going to get her to say what they want. And that's something that we're on and continue to investigate, and we demand answers from the Federal Bureau of Prisons and the DOJ.
Well, Congressman, that's specifically what I wanted to ask you about, because I know you called for an inspector general to look into the circumstances surrounding Ghislaine Maxwell being moved to that Club Fed, as it is known, because of its nicer accommodations in Texas. What kind of answers are they giving? Are they just stonewalling you? How is it possible to make progress on getting answers and getting transparency if the DOJ is not refusing to cooperate? And so many victims have also said that DOJ has not reached out to them.
Right. I mean, look, let's be real clear. What's going on right now is a White House cover-up. There is a complete cover-up happening with the White House and with the DOJ. Now, we asked Attorney General Bondi these questions. We've reached out to the Federal Bureau of Prisons around why this transfer of Ghislaine Maxwell took place. There's been no response. Now we just reached out a few days ago to the Inspector General, again, to demand answers. And it's also to ensure that the survivors get their questions answered. Over and over again, we heard from them last week that they were just disgusted. Their families are as well completely disgusted. They don't understand why Maxwell, who abused them personally, who many said would walk them from their apartments to Jeffrey Epstein's home to be abused and raped. That is the experience. That's the way they view Ghislaine Maxwell. And for her to have this kind of reduced sentencing prison arrangement, as you know, is crazy. And the American people are sick and tired of the lies, and they could clear this whole scandal and cover up and could clear the whole thing up if they just release the files. And the truth is they know, as well as everybody else, that Trump and others are in the files. Pam Bondi has said herself, which is why this cover up continues.
So, Congressman, we have the continued sort of dragging of their feet on the Epstein issue and all the transparency people are demanding there. We have continued tension in American cities, out on the streets, potential escalation soon in Chicago. And now we have a looming fight over government funding. Are Democrats going to move to let the government shut down?
I think Democrats have got to be tough and do whatever it takes to stop the Donald Trump agenda. And look, I think Donald Trump right now is proving that every day It's another march to authoritarianism. It's another day where he rolls back democracy. What he's doing with the budget right now as it relates to essentially picking and choosing what he wants to fund. Democrats can't play that game. We have got to stand tough and push back. And I think the government, we know where we're headed. We have to stand tall. What are we going to do? Pass a budget and allow Donald Trump essentially to create and pick and choose what he wants to fund? So I think in this moment, I hope that we've learned our lessons from what happened the last time, where unfortunately, as a Congress, and particularly on the Senate, we caved. We need to stand strong and use every tool available to us, even if it means shutting down Trump's agenda.
Ok, señores, esto nos confirma lo que muchos ya sospechábamos. Hay una enorme presión para que se entreguen los archivos de Epstein, y entre ellos está el famoso libro de cumpleaños, que finalmente podría conectar directamente a Trump con Epstein en un contexto personal e incómodo. Pero aquí viene lo grave. Donald Trump ahora niega que ese libro exista, pero los representantes en el Congreso aseguran que sí está en manos de la herencia Epstein, lo cual está a punto de hacerlo público. Esto no es un simple detalle. Si ese libro efectivamente aparece, hablamos de que se va a exponer a Trump como un mentiroso, alguien que ocultó información clave sobre su relación con Epstein. Ahora bien, seguramente los defensores de Trump han estado sacando sus excusas cada vez más absurdas, porque vimos, por ejemplo, a Mike Johnson, que llegó a tal ridículo de decirnos que Trump era un informante contra Epstein. Una narrativa que no solo es insostenible, sino que nos demuestra hasta qué punto están dispuestos a inventar cualquier cosa solo para protegerlo. Aquí es donde tenemos que poner las cartas sobre la mesa. Si este documento sale a la luz, no solo es una contradicción, es una prueba más de encubrimiento. Encubrimiento que se suma a la sospechosa protección a Ghislaine Maxwell, a los movimientos de la Casa Blanca, a los del Departamento de Justicia, para poder suavizar la prisión y todo este esfuerzo por silenciar a las víctimas. Seguramente alguien dirá, bueno, pero una carta de cumpleaños no prueba nada, cualquiera puede mandar un saludo. Claro, en aislamiento podría sonar inofensivo, ¿no? Pero el problema no es la carta en sí, es la mentira pública de Trump, porque él ya dijo que no existe, que nunca escribió nada. Si ahora se puede demostrar lo contrario, ya nos va a quedar claro que sí está ocultando información sobre todo el tema de Epstein. En un escándalo tan delicado como este, donde hablamos de tráfico sexual, señores, cada mentira pesa toneladas. Este libro de cumpleaños podrá convertirse en una bomba política y moral contra Trump. No solo porque lo vincula directamente con Epstein, sino porque lo expone como alguien que está dispuesto a más que mentir y querer manipular la verdad. Si la Casa Blanca sigue bloqueando los archivos y protegiendo figuras como Ghislaine Maxwell, no estamos hablando de simples errores administrativos, estamos hablando de un encubrimiento a gran escala. Pero bueno, ahora les pregunto a ustedes, ¿qué creen que pasará si este libro finalmente se hace público? ¿Será la prueba que termine de hundir a Trump en el caso de Epstein? ¿O será que van a intentar darle otra vuelta, para querer minimizar esto? Los invito a que me dejen sus opiniones en la caja de comentarios. Muchísimas gracias por acompañarme hasta el final de este video. Recuerda, como siempre, dale like, comparte el contenido y suscríbete a nuestro canal. Nos vemos en el próximo video. Hasta luego.